Yo, what is up guys? Welcome back to the channel. I wanted to make this video because was experiencing an issue with the M45 where it was overheating at higher speeds, but now when I was like at a stop or lower speeds and I was driving normally around town, I'm usually on the highway going I would say over 80 miles per hour when it was hot outside. It honestly had to be over 110 degrees outside for this to happen, and it happened only specifically when the AC compressor was on. Now, if you guys don't know, the AC compressor actually causes the motor to work a little bit harder because it's spinning more accessories on the car, and the clutch engages, causing it, to spin the AC compressor. So it puts a little bit more workload on the M45. It'll get hotter when the AC compressor is on versus off. So that's what I noticed off the bat. Once I would turn the AC compressor off, I was going consistently over 80 miles per hour. It would immediately almost drop down back to the normal operating temperature where it should be at. Let me show you the gauge really quick. So right now you can see the gauge is like right below the middle portion, but when it would get hot, it would get up to like the little flag on top of the temperature gauge. Now immediately I thought there was something wrong with the cooling system, maybe a thermostat, water pump, things of that nature, but it wasn't. And the reason I know is because I replaced a bunch of things on the motor before checking other things that I have not replaced on the M45. So as you guys know, I have a newer motor on here which has about 60,000 miles, which means all the accessories that came with it, water pump, the power steering, alternator, all those have under 60 or right about 60,000 miles. So I know it can't be those things. I just replaced the water pump, didn't fix the issue. Thermostat, didn't fix the issue. Of course, after doing that, I had to flush the system, didn't fix the issue. Flushed it again, tried to flush out the radiator, didn't fix the issue. It's 3 things that I have not replaced on the M45. One, which is not very common, it was a temperature sensor. There's a temperature sensor right behind the block, but there's also 2 other things that I did not replace, which were the radiator and also the fans. The radiator almost looks brand spanking new, so of course I flushed it, and my next option was going to be to replace that, because I do know that after going to the junkyard, I have an aftermarket radiator that I did not know about until I saw that the original radiators, they say Nissan on them, and they have like a part number right at the top where mine doesn't. Was suspecting that I was that because I didn't have an original radiator, but I don't think it would cause an issue because it's honestly like an exact replica of the Nissan radiator. It looks almost exactly the same. So of course I went to the junkyard and I found a fan for the M45. It was just sitting there, it was in really good condition. So I picked up the fan, spent 60 bucks, which is really good, because aftermarket ones cost like 150. So if I could keep OEM ones, that's a plus. Now I noticed that when the car would get really hot, there's usually a second setting that the fans will turn on that will run the fans a little bit faster, and you could hear them clearly outside of the car. I did not hear that with my fans. I know I heard it before because I could clearly hear the fans when I had put the motor in. They were really loud. So something must have happened recently that they're not running as efficiently or as fast as they should be. So I went ahead and took those off, put the new ones in, or the used ones in, and I noticed immediately that the newer fans sounded a lot faster and they were blowing the air a lot quicker than my previous ones. Now after driving the car around with my used new fans, I don't have that issue anymore if you're not really paying attention to your fans, because if you think about it, as long as your fans are running, you think that they're going to be fine. But are they running as efficiently and as fast as they should be is the real question. So you're not going to notice it if you live in a cooler area, because it's cool and Arizona is freaking hot. So there's no way that you're really going to be able to tell if the fans are consistently running and it's cool outside that the car's going to get to a point where it gets hot. Alright, so here I have my M45 inside the garage so I can show you the motor, exactly what I'm looking at, and also have my old block right here so I can show you other things that I'm looking at as well if you can't see it while the engine is in the car. Now the first thing that I wanted to go ahead and show you guys was like all the cooling components, things that you should look out for that you might want to replace if you're having issues with your M45. Now, as I already explained earlier, my issue was that the car was overheating at higher speeds, and usually you may have a bigger problem if your car is overheating when you are driving slow. So if you're driving slower, you're at a stop and your car starts getting hot, you may actually have a bigger problem than you think. Now usually things like that, they could be the water pump not working properly, thermostat not opening when it should be. When that happens, the cooling system is not going through because it's stopping it at this point right here. This is one of your thermostats right here where they're located, and you also have another one behind the block Now let me show you really quick. So right here you have this pipe goes all the way down through the middle of the car to the back. Now looking at the block right here, the thermostat housing is right here, and it goes all the way in through the bottom right here, and it connects right there. And there's another thermostat right on the back of that you can actually replace. The one in the back is slightly smaller than the one in the front, so they are different sizes. Now that's going to be one thing that you want to check. The housing itself can crack as well. That can cause leaks. And usually the biggest problem that I see on VKs, on VQs, is going to be bubbles in the system. So if you have a crack, it's introducing air into the system, which is not good for the car and needs to be burped out properly with like a funnel or, you know, a machine that can suck out the air and put just coolant into the system. Now there's a few hoses that can break on this car. You have this one over here, which is your large hose. Then you have the one down here. You have another one right here that connects to the radiator directly. This one does as well. This is your radiator right here, and this is what I'm talking about. Right here usually says Nissan. There's another label right here as well. That's like the part number. So I know this is not the original radiator. Another thing that you want to check is going to be your cap. Your cap can go bad, allowing air to get in the system or it leak out. And then you have your bleeder valve right here in the back. Mine is right there. Try to put my flashlight on. This is the bleeder right there. That can also crack as well, which can introduce air into the system. And that's where you bleed the air from the back of the motor. So those are a few things that you want to look at. Now another item behind the block is going to be the temperature sensor. So the temperature sensor is going to be this one right here. As you can see, it has a little bit of coolant on it. It's right on the back of the block, right in this area. And then you can remove it by using like an open-ended wrench. These I have not heard that they really go out very often, but it's something that you might want to check if your car is maybe not reading the temperature correctly and your car is not getting hot or it's not overheating. It might just be this that's actually bad and not reading correctly. But that's pretty much it when it comes to the cooling components. You do have your water pump right in the middle. The water pump is actually made of metal and it's not plastic, so it won't really break, but the seals can go bad. Now what I mean by that is you have the water pump right here. Now there is a seal right on the inside of this right here that can leak, which is an issue that I actually had on the previous water pump, where it was leaking over time on the inside, allowing the coolant to get low and also air into the system and dripping down. But I couldn't really notice where it was coming from, because what was happening was it was building up at the bottom of the water pump, and then it was spinning it and throwing it all over my intake on that side. So I had no idea where it was coming from. I thought it was coming from like this right here, so I replaced this and I replaced the hose. Did it fix the issue? It took me a while to figure out that it was actually the water pump that had gone out. Now I think that's honestly it when it comes to like the cooling system, things that you should look out for. You want to check all your hoses. If there's any holes, replace that and then bleed the system, because then there's most likely air in the system. But yeah, that's all I could really think of when it comes to the cooling system. Now the fans do play a part in it. Now I've changed all my fans. I haven't had the issue, and you really have to pay attention to the fans. If they're not loud or they're not spinning very fast, most likely the motors of the fans have gone bad. You have two of them. You can also replace the control module. If your fans are not spinning at all, it could be the fans itself, or it could be this control module that's not working. But for the most part, from what I've seen, when this control module goes out, the fans actually can run all the time, which they're not supposed to. They're only supposed to run at certain times. For example, if the AC is on, they should turn on automatically. But if the car is cold and the AC is not on, they should not be running at all until the car gets warm. So that's just something to think about as well when it comes to the VK45 motor, things that you should look out for. Another option that I don't feel like is very common unless you have most likely a lot of miles or you don't take care of your engine is going to be a bad head gasket. But usually when it comes to a bad head gasket, you will see mixture in fluids. Mixture in fluids would include, you know, the coolant being a different color. Usually it's going to be like a bluish green. If it's turning like a brown color, then most likely oil is mixing with it, making it milky. Vice versa, check your oil as well. If the oil is looking a little milky and it's no longer, you know, the color that it should be, which is like a goldish or, you know, a little bit brown, once it gets old, it's starting to look a little bit more like chocolate, then you most likely have a bad head gasket, which, you know, is a huge issue because that takes a lot of work. Head gasket would be this portion right here, removing the head. I actually do want to disassemble the heads of this car, so I will be making a video on that as well. It would be this portion right here that has to be taken off. Alright guys, so we're gonna go ahead and end the video right there. The only thing that I forgot to mention was how to remove the fans. To remove them, there's just two 10 mils at the top. You gotta also remove the radiator hose at the top, not the bottom one. The bottom one does not need to be removed. And then at the bottom of the radiator fans, there is like a little box that it just sits in, but you don't have to really remove anything from there, except for the transmission line. There's a transmission line at the bottom that it like kind of clips into, so you just gotta push it up and it'll release it. That's honestly it when it comes to the radiator fans. And then of course you gotta disconnect the connections to the control module. That's it. It's really simple and easy. The only problem is that when you remove the radiator hose at the top, coolant will leak out and you gotta refill it and most likely burp out the system properly, bubbles, to ensure that it doesn't overheat, because now there's gonna be air in the system. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video and helps you guys out on things that you should be looking at your M45 when it comes to the cooling system, things that can go out. If there is anything that I missed, I'm pretty sure I didn't miss anything, but if I did, make sure to leave it down in the comments below. I'm pretty positive I hit everything that you should look out for. It can be as simple as a radiator cap that's faulty, not sealing properly, that can cause an issue, or even something more severe, a thermostat, you know, things of that nature. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.